All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the latest installment of Sticky Bleachers, a podcast. I'm Bobby here with you today.
And I am Corey talking to you from Ireland on what is every year the grumpiest, angriest, most headachy, twitchy day of the Irish calendar, Bob.
Why is that?
Because today in the Christian calendar, it is Good Friday, the day that Jesus was supposed to have died. And in the Republic of Ireland, alcohol sales in pubs and liquor stores are banned nationwide. It is the only day of the year when all the pubs are closed by law and all the liquor stores are gone. So last night, there was a run on the liquor stores, as there is every year on the night before Good Friday. Yes, so it is a very old-timey, old-fashioned law that goes back to the time when Ireland was mostly run by the Catholic Church, and it sticks with us today.
So are you not supposed to drink on Good Friday? I mean, not that people
Right. Well,
but...
the original intent of it, as I've been told, was not so much they didn't want you drinking alcohol, because the Catholics are totally okay with alcohol, but it's that they wanted families to be together. And in the time that these laws were enacted, a man, a head of a household, would work and then would immediately go to the pub, and that would be 5 nights a week. Would immediately go to the pub. So the idea was that we want the men of Ireland to go home to their families at least one day of the year to go home to their families.
It's odd they didn't allow the women and children to come to the pub.
Well, that's something that's a recent addition, that women and children are now welcome at the pubs. So
is it like Wisconsin rules? Can you drink with your underage if you're with a guardian?
No, you can't drink underage with a guardian, but kids can be in bars a lot later than they can. You wouldn't see, and it's one of those things in Ireland where I don't know if there is any law about it at all. I think it's just up to the discretion of people. But like I've seen kids in pubs late at night, but it probably depends on the atmosphere of the pub. Like if it's a party place up in town full of tourists and that, probably the kids would not go just by the good judgment of most parents. But the neighborhood pubs, the local corner places that would just have the soccer games on TV and drunks slouched over the bar until they close at 11:30, then that's usually okay. Yeah, it's not so bad. So, but yeah, today is an angry day. There's also a rail strike. There's a public transportation strike that's going into effect this weekend. So everybody's upset about that also. So it's a very grumpy day. Well, the commuter train, one of the commuter train lines is going to be shut down because the workers are going on strike.
Man.
So
turmoil.
So today is a grumpy day. If I had to characterize the Irish psyche today, it's that of just grumpy. Yeah. Now, part of I'm responsible for making some Irish people grumpy, Bob, because we threw a basketball watching party last night for the game that ended up being kind of a thunk, the Villanova-Miami game, because I'm running the bracket with my Irish and European friends, and that was the game of this round that most of them had both of those teams picked correct to be in that spot. So they all wanted to watch it. It started around 11:10 local time. So we got together last night, had some dinner, had some drinks. We watched Team America World Police, and then as soon as that ended, we turned on the basketball game.
Yeah, that's a good segue into a basketball game.
It was nice, and so I found myself being kind of the basketball educator. I was kind of showing people on the screen, like, all right, this is the 3-point line, and this is the lane, and here's how the lane works, and here's the shot clock works, and like here's what a foul is. Like you can, body and contact is okay, but you can't be reaching in with the hand. So I kind of showed them the stick your butt out, push the players back with the butt. They thought I was doing some kind of weird dance. Like, nope, that's just basketball, baby.
Well, it could also be twerking as well. I mean, it
could be twerking. That's right. Yeah. So it's like a good inside player probably would be good twerkers.
Probably, mostly. Can at least do a little spin move every once in a while.
Yeah, you got to do the spin move.
Basketball players are good dancers. I bet.
Yeah. And the behind the back. Yeah. Behind the back, we're all good there. But sadly, Bob, both the early games last night ended up being kind of thunkers. So Villanova, if you don't know yet, Villanova just clobbered Miami. 92-69 was the final there. From Reddit, user ZGreen05 says, bold strategy by Villanova. They just decided not to miss. So
yeah, I mean, that was really the case of the game. I mean, Archidiakono was on fire for most of the game. I only got a chance to watch the first half, but I mean, really, that's all Villanova needed was the first half to put a whooping on Miami. So tough way to end the season for a really good Hurricanes team. And I know Jim Larinaga is a great coach.
Yep.
So it's got to be tough.
It was just kind of sad for me because this, for my friends, it was the first time they were watching a basketball game, and we had probably oversold how exciting March Madness is in the basketball games, and you got upsets and you've got buzzer beaters and all this stuff, and then the first game that they see is the second half is just kind of Villanova getting behind. Now, thankfully, Villanova was still putting on a show well into the second half. Well, they had no reason to or no need to. They were still dunking.
Miami didn't make a push in the second half, did they?
No. Miami, they went full court press with I think it was about 10 minutes left to go. They went full court, and Villanova just passed it right behind them and was dunking and laying it in behind their full court press. They did that 3 or 4 times over the course of a couple of minutes. That's how you beat the press. You get a guy behind them. Yeah, and that's when you've got players as talented as Villanova team did. Like the talent was just too strong for Miami, so that the full court press was not working for them. But it was sad, these my European friends introduced them to basketball, and they're just like, oh, these guys just every time they shoot those threes, they go in and they just dunking it behind this other team. Like, what? Aren't we in the third round of this tournament?
Well, it's interesting how the farther we've gone on in the rounds, the more the better team has prevailed. The first round we had a lot of upsets and stuff like that, and then immediately at the end of the weekend we had the better team was coming out as the victor, and you have now you have these matchups of what seem to be pretty evenly matched teams or both good teams and stuff, and now we're also seeing the discrepancies between them. So forget that Villanova was ranked number 1 for a little bit heading into the playoff. The conference playoffs, so they are no joke. So
right,
it'll be a fun matchup.
Yeah, you're right, Bob. A couple of the folks in my bracket do have Villanova going all the way, and they have never watched basketball before. They just like the look of the team on paper, literally on the one sheet of paper that I handed the bracket on to them.
Villanova's it's a fun word to say. They go by Nova. It's cool.
That's right. So
let's see if there'll be a supernova.
Yep. So right now I'm in the lead in my bracket, but if Villanova stays hot as they go on, and as they will be going on, Bob, to face Kansas, who I have and probably 50+% of the world has as their championship game.
Well, this is the first year I'm really appreciative of Kansas actually, doing what Kansas is supposed to do. They didn't, usually they're a Michigan State situation where they lose pretty early on in the tournament when they're supposed to go to the Final Four of the championship game. So I'm just happy to see that they're in the Elite Eight and have a chance to go into the Final Four. So
yep, a lot of sad Maryland fans out there, Bob, after watching that game. Here's some comments from Reddit on that. Maryland Terrapins fan, and the username is 4 lowercase L's, a bunch of dashes, and then 4 more lowercase L's, so it looks like a weight. It looks like a barbell weight. All caps. We still have crab cakes and Old Bay, and Kansas will never know that joy. But good game, guys. Y'all played well and deserved to win.
That's
Wisconsin,
true. You got to look at the positives.
That's right. Wisconsin Badgers fan Slayer HK47 says, "What the hell do they bring to a picnic in Maryland? Because they sure don't know what a basket is." Whoa.
Oh.
And another Maryland.
That sounds like Wisconsin's sense of humor.
Yep, that's right. Another Maryland fan says, "I probably shouldn't have watched this game at a bar called Bricks."
Ooh.
And I pulled on that one.
Well, it depends on who you're rooting for.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, a fan from the Villanova game popped in and called Villanova the anti-Maryland. So Maryland clearly was not able to get the ball in the bucket quite enough. 79-63 was the score in the Kansas game. So it seems like they just could not shoot themselves into that one.
Yep. That was my worry about Maryland going far in this tournament, is that they rely so heavily on Melo Tremble, and their last game versus Hawaii. I mean, Hawaii was in it for a little bit in the first half, and Diamond Stone kind of took over that game. And Melo Tremble's a great player, but it's tough to rely on just one person in this tournament. You need a whole team, and that's what Villanova displayed. And Kansas is a great all-around team as well. That Texas A&M Oklahoma game was also very good as well. You get both two good teams. I know Texas A&M made a push at the end, but Oklahoma's a really solid team. But again, I worry because they rely a lot on Buddy Hield and Spangler as well. So
all right, so
just something to look out for, or look out for.
So you think Oklahoma might be in trouble going there? I mean, facing Oregon, any team is going to be in trouble, but you think Oklahoma might be in serious trouble?
Well, just because of their not lack of depth, but just they rely so heavily on one player. And if you have a good defense that can neutralize that one player and you that one other guy doesn't step up in that particular game. Like in Maryland's case when they played Hawaii, Melo Trumbull, he didn't have a bad game, but they relied heavily on Diamond Stone to get that kind of put that game away. And so with the Oklahoma-Oregon matchup that's happening, if Buddy Hield is taken, if he's controlled and Spangler can't dominate the game, then that game easily goes to Oregon. So it'll be a fun one. It'll be a fun one. Two really good teams. I was really impressed with Oklahoma's defense. That was the one thing I didn't think they could do very well was play D. But they held. Would they hold Texas A&M to 68 or something?
63 points, 77-63, Bob. And actually, a note on that score, and I wanted to see if you remember this, Bob. Immediately when I looked at the comment threads for that game, everyone was referencing things like, well, 63 is a hell of a lot better than 0 on a score like that. Does anything like that ring a bell to you?
63 is better than a 0?
Yeah, so think Oklahoma, Texas A&M, 77-63, 77-0. Yes.
Football beatdown?
Yes, it was November 8th, 2003. Oklahoma beat Texas A&M 77-0, and that's what all of the discussion was about. Oklahoma over A&M with 77 points. So that was people were saying, well, at least we can score in basketball against Oklahoma. So the memories are long in college sports, Bob.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you root for your alma mater, you'll remember all the bad losses and the good wins. But those bad losses stick with you just the same.
And that one, when I read that, I was like, something in the back of my mind was like, oh, yeah, Oklahoma A&M. I mean, I remember
what year was that?
It was 2003, November 8th, 2003. So
way before Johnny Football.
Yes, yeah, before he could come in there and save the day. He would have put at least 7 on the board for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, even against that tough, but that was in the day. I mean, 2003. That's when Oklahoma was kind of at their most recent prime.
Yeah, that was that AP?
I don't know if was that AP days. That seems like an AP kind of score.
Yep, I think that was AP time.
All right, but it is the Oregon Duke game seemed the final score doesn't probably tell how close the game was. 82-68 Oregon over Duke. But now, Bob, the discussion from that one. Oregon fans say, we are the Pac-1. In response to that, Conference of Champion, singular. I knew you'd like that one.
Yes. Well, I mean, the Pac-12, they came in there. People were talking about how impressive the Pac-12 is. And I would equate them right there with the Big Ten, quite honestly. Not overrated, but a little overrated, Oregon is as an underrated team in an overrated conference, but definitely a solid club. And I wouldn't be surprised to go on to the Final Four. I would love to see a Kansas-Oregon Final Four matchup. I think that'd be really exciting. Really similar teams. But man, the way Villanova was shooting the ball last night, and all the team was shooting the ball. Again, it wasn't just Arcidiacono. I mean, the way everyone was shooting lights out.
Yep.
That's scary. And if they can carry that over until Saturday, it'd be impressive.
So do you think that? So you're talking about the shooting for the Kansas Nova game, Bob. What would be your over/under if I gave you a score of, let's say I give you a score of 190? What would be your over/under on the total score in that game, Kansas Nova? I don't know what the Vegas line is. What if I give you?
Oh, I go under
190 points. You go under on that.
Yeah, I go under on that. Kansas just plays really good defense, so you'd have to. Not that Miami doesn't play good defense, but Kansas playing good defense. Both teams, I would imagine that the offense would suffer on both ends. So
okay,
I'd imagine something around a 70-ish point game for both teams. So
all right. So that's lower than I would have put it. I'd probably take the under on 190, but it could be close. That game could turn into a three fest.
I was going to say that Miami Villanova game actually makes that Iowa loss not look as bad as it did prior to the game.
Absolutely. So. And it makes me rethink saying some of the things about Iowa not showing up. Like Iowa may have showed up with everything they had, and that might have been just the best they could do. but Iowa, like Miami, was missing more shots than their average. So I don't know if part of that was just intimidation or just the urgency of playing from behind from the opening gun. I don't know.
And the other thing that hurt Miami quite a bit early on was turnovers. I mean, that's the case with the March Madness. Points off turnovers is huge. And if you can protect the ball, I believe at one point Miami had turned the ball over like 7 or 8 times to Villanova's 0 and in the first half.
Yep.
So if you can get points off of that without the other team even touching the ball, you're gonna be happy.
And Villanova seems to not suffer the consequences of scoring droughts. It seems like Villanova just never really cools off. So if you can't, if you get into a scoring drought, then Villanova is just going to pull ahead and they're going to leave you in the dust. You can't rely on them to miss 3 or 4 possessions in a row.
Yeah, because if you're going shot for shot, that's one thing. But if you're just giving up the ball and allowing them to get baskets and they don't miss the baskets, I mean. All right. It's going to be a long day at the office.
Yep. Well, so let's look ahead, Bob. We've got another set of Sweet 16 games tonight as of this recording on Good Friday, the driest day of the Irish calendar. Some people actually book boat cruises because there's a few loopholes in the law where you can, if you're on a train or a boat, you can have a drink if you're not
Pirate waters
land. Yeah, if you're traveling, it's an exclusion for traveling, and I guess hotel bars. You can drink at the hotel bar if you are staying at the hotel. So
people get like a room just so they can drink at the hotel bar?
That's right. They will get a room just so they can go to the hotel bar and drink. And it's more just a thing. It's like that's a novelty. Yeah. Like I'm drinking when no one else in the country can. Anyway, let's start in the East, Bob. We've got North Carolina Tar Heels and the Indiana Hoosier Sooners.
This is my pick to click when we did our earlier podcast. So yes. I'm super excited for this game. I'm going to stick with my UNC. I think they're just the better team. They're more athletic, and as long as they don't come out cold shooting. I mean, that's the big thing again. But Indiana, again, like Oklahoma, like Miami, and Maryland as well, they rely heavily on Yogi Ferrell. So if Yogi Ferrell comes out hot, watch out. But if he comes out cold or has any cold spurt, it could be a long day. So I'd watch out.
Yep, well, that will be a good one. I'm going to try to catch. I'm trying to catch maybe one of the early ones on this, but I'm just mostly relying on the questionably edited YouTube highlights that are officially put up there by the March Madness team. Going down in the East, we have Notre Dame and Wisconsin. That should be another exciting one, Bob.
Actually, I disagree. I don't think it's going to be very exciting at all. I think Notre Dame's going to run away with that one. So,
you don't think Wisconsin in a buzzer beater?
No, I don't think Wisconsin in a buzzer beater. I mean. That first game they played where they put up barely like 45 points or something, I think was more of that Wisconsin team than the last game that they played where they beat a buzzer beater. So, or won on a buzzer beater. So that Notre Dame team's good as well.
Yes.
And they can play good defense and shoot.
So Bob's call in the 6-7 matchup is going to be a runaway for Notre Dame. So adjust your television dials, everybody. Bob says that's going to be a snooze fest. Why don't you turn over and watch the Virginia-Iowa State matchup, Bob, which this is my pick for an interesting game. I still think the Cavs take it over the Cyclones, but it could be exciting.
Well, first off, who do you got in the first 2 games? Who do you got in Indiana, UNC, and Wisconsin and Notre Dame?
Oh, I have USC and UNC and Notre Dame.
Okay, cool.
But I think that Notre Dame game is going to be closer than yours. Yeah. I think that's going to be closer than what you think. But going on down, I think Virginia-Iowa State is going to be a really big one because the way Iowa State is putting up points on the board, I think it's going to be tough even for a 1 seed to win a shooting contest with them. Bob, what do you think?
Virginia has some of the best defense in the country, though, so they're going to be a lot of tough shots, let's say.
Okay.
And not that Iowa State doesn't have scores. Again, they have some depth when it comes to offense. The thing I worry about, like I sound like a broken record, but I worry about Iowa State's defense. I worry about if they were just trading shots with another team that doesn't, like Iowa State, Oklahoma, like those 2 teams can just trade shots. And as you saw in the last time that they played, they traded shots and just it was a wonderful game, but it was all about who mismanaged like the last succession of shots and stuff. So Virginia with their defense, they have a better offense than they've normally had coming into the tournament. So I think they can stick with them. I'd imagine somewhere again around the 70s, maybe the low 80s for a final score for both teams.
Okay.
But I go with Virginia on this one.
All right. Well, that's the one that we'll take a look at. And then finally, we have the 10 and 11 seed, Zags and Syracuse, Bob. This would be called the Who Cares game, probably, of the Sweet 16.
Yeah, well, Gonzaga's a fun team. Okay. Gonzaga's a fun team. I like watching them. But
you were trying to find something to say that was nice to me, Bob. I appreciate that. Yeah, well, you're well, okay.
Well, this Syracuse team, I think they've had the easiest road to the Sweet 16 ever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they really haven't had to play anybody, and credit to them for winning the games they should win, obviously.
Yes, but as you said, very lucky Middle Tennessee as their second round foe was a kind of a gift.
Yeah, exactly. It was a gift from the March Madness gods. So I shouldn't go against Syracuse because I picked them to lose in the first round, and they've done nothing but prove me wrong. So I'm going to go, though, with Gonzaga because I just think they're a more impressive team.
Well, I'm going to go with you, Bob. Also, I'm going to agree with the Gonzaga. See, this is where we're going to be getting into this because now that the first round favorites are knocked out on that side, it becomes like, well, it's going to fall to the next one. So Gonzaga they've beaten Utah, they've beaten an impressive Seton Hall team. So you got to think that they were probably underseeded and looking for revenge. So I'd like to see them pile on Syracuse.
Yeah, then they piled on Utah. I mean, they came out of the gates pretty hot in that game, and I think Syracuse. I mean, they have a young team, and it's fairly inconsistent. And not that Gonzaga has been the model of consistency throughout the year, but I just think at the end of the day, they're the better team. So,
all right,
you know where this game's being played by chance?
This one is Chicago, I think.
Chicago.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yep. This one's Chicago. Philadelphia for the East region. So the North Carolina Notre Dame games are in Philly, and then this one's in Chicago. Last night we had Anaheim for the Oregon and Oklahoma games, and Louisville for the others, Villanova and Kansas.
Well, that Wisconsin Notre Dame game in Chicago should be a lot of homers there for both sides.
Actually. They're in Philadelphia.
Oh, they're in Philadelphia.
Yep.
Gotcha.
That's okay. It's hard.
So
it's hard
there
to
won't
picture.
Be a lot of.
That's a little audio joke for all of you podcast fans. trying to picture the bracket in your heads right now. But yeah, so the Iowa State would be the closest probably to have some homers. They're playing in Chicago. So
okay.
that
well,
I-80
Virginia's not
matchup.
That far away.
Yeah. I suppose that's cut around half. Now, real quick, Bob, if Gonzaga goes on to win, and Virginia goes on to win. Does Gonzaga have any chance against Virginia?
Oh, that'll be a fun game.
Okay.
That will be fun.
All right.
They do. Yeah, they have a chance. Absolutely.
Okay, so that's something maybe we can talk about on Monday, Bob, when we go to our Monday weekend wrap for these rounds.
Absolutely.
I have a quiz for you, Bob.
You do?
Yes. It has to do with basketball and with family, two things that are very important to all of us here in this time of the year. Last night, Duke took a loss and ended a dynasty of players with the last name of Plumlee playing for them.
Okay.
So that is the theme of this quiz today. So families in basketball. So we all know that name. We've been hearing it for a long time. The first question for you, Bob, is when is the last season that the Duke Blue Devils did not have a Plumlee on their team? Was it 2005? 2007 or 2009. So that's the first part of the season. So the 2005, 2006 season, 27, 08 season, or 29, 2010 season.
Okay. Can I get the choices again?
Yes, 2005, 2007, or 2009. The last season that they did not have a Plumlee on their team.
I'll go 2007.
It was 2007. 8 years of Plumlees. The first member of the family joined in 2008. Next question, Bob. What are the first names of all three Plumlees? Ready? These are the first names. We have Mike, Matt, and Mitchell.
Okay.
Miles, Mason, and Marshall. McCaw, McGregor, McGee, or Melky, Manny, and Milton.
The second one, right? Let me hear the second one again.
The second one is Miles, Mason, and Marshall.
That's the one.
That is the one. Milky, Manny, and Milton, famous baseball players. Not brothers. Not brothers.
One of those families that had to name every kid with an M, right?
Yep, there you go. All right, Bob, here we go. This set of three brothers are all nephews of former NBA player Al Eberhard. They all played for Washington High School in Indiana, but they did not play for the same university. The youngest brother was selected with the 4th overall pick in the 2013 NBA draft by the Charlotte Bobcats. What family is this? Bonus if you know all the first names.
Do I get any?
Nope, I don't have choices for you. This is a cold one.
Fourth choice in what draft?
2013 draft, the Charlotte Bobcats, and that's the youngest one. So
I'll go Walker.
The family name is Zeller. Cody Zeller just drafted.
Zeller, gotcha.
Older brother Tyler and oldest brother Luke all played for three different schools. I think.
All play in the NBA?
I believe they all did. Yeah, Luke played for Notre Dame, Tyler for North Carolina, and Cody for Indiana.
Gotcha.
All right, so this family, we're going back to the Plumlee family, Bob. Three tall guys.
I was doing good with the Plumlee family.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so three tall gentlemen.
Yes.
If you stood them up one on top of another, how tall would they be? So if you put them, stacked them up vertically, would their total height be 19 feet 6 inches, 20 feet 10 inches, or 21 feet 8 inches?
All right, let's think about this. I'm gonna go.
Going back to the Plumlees here. All tall drinks of water.
All tall drinks of water. Exactly. Can I get the choices again real quick?
Yes. 19 foot 6, 20 foot 10, and 21 foot 8.
I'm gonna go 21 foot 8.
It is 20 feet 10. Two of them, the youngest two are 6'11", and Marshall is a 7-footer. So they are just taller, Bob, than the world record gingerbread house built in Bryan, Texas in 2013.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a deep drop there, Corey.
Well, so there we go. Just so you can, for scale, so you can imagine.
For scale.
Just think of the world record gingerbread house, and they're just a little bit taller than that. So, all right, they're not.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah, they're not quite as tall as Jaws is long. But anyway,
okay.
here's this question about another sports family dynasty one, Bob, that might be right up your alley. Okay. This famous sports dynasty was sired by Canadian professional wrestling legend Stu Hart. He had 9 children, all of them involved in professional wrestling at some point in their life. My question for you, Bob, is can you name 3 of the siblings of the Hart family?
Well, there's Brett and Owen.
Yes.
And then, crap.
I knew you'd get 2. I was going to see if you could get 3 because this is all about sets of 3 brothers.
Oh crap. Did they all wrestle? They were all wrestlers?
Involved in one way or another in wrestling, and there are men and women on the family list.
Okay, Brett and Owen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know the British Bulldog was somehow related to him, but I don't believe they were brothers though. But I think those guys were related in some way, shape, or form. Maybe that was just a storyline. But
yeah, I had to differentiate between kayfabe families and actual genetic families. Yes.
I'm gonna have to go a shot in the dark here.
All right.
Brett, Owen, and let's go Marcus.
There is no Marcus Hart, unfortunately. The family, I believe this is in birth order: Smith, Bruce, Keith, Wayne, Dean, Brett, Ross, Diana, and Owen.
Okay.
That is the Hart.
But Brett and Owen were by far the most famous wrestlers.
Yes, right.
Correct?
And there's a couple of other wrestling families that wrestled in America with 3s in them. We've got the Vachon family with Butcher, Mad Dog, Vivian, and Marie. Also, another family is Animal from the Road Warriors, is the brother of Johnny Ace and Marcus Laurinaitis. And we also have the Welch family of Roy, Jack, Herb, and Lester. So there's quite a few wrestling families with more than 2. There's a lot of famous.
Nepotism runs wild in wrestling. So.
Right, you are, Bob. All right, the last one here. The movie Slapshot was about the hockey-playing Hanson brothers, but was based on a real hockey brother family. What was their last name? Was it Olsen, Heinrichsen, or Carlson? So based on real-life brothers.
Olsen, what was the other ones?
Olsen and Heinrichsen and Carlson are the 3 choices.
I'll go Carlson.
It was Carlson. 2 of the brothers, Steve and Jeff Carlson, actually starred in the movie as the Hanson brothers. It's strange that they decided to do that. So, nice job on the quiz, Bob. I just a real quick credit there. A lot of those Plumlee facts came from an article by AP sports writers Ann Peterson and Kyle Hightower. So, thank you for those facts on the Plumlees. I did not pull up the local Texas TV station that had coverage of the Guinness World Record gingerbread. So sorry about the no credit on that one, but nice job, Bob.
Well, thank you. I'll take 500 any day. So solid season.
I thought for sure you'd get that Hart question. I thought you'd be like, "Oh yeah, Wayne Hart. Of course, everyone knows Wayne Hart."
Of course, yeah. I like Bret Hart. Never was a super big fan, but he left when he left WWF and went to WCW. It was kind of it was a big thing. But I was in Shawn Michaels' corner in that situation.
Yep. He did the WCW with his finger. This is the visual joke that works so great on podcasts. Is I'm spelling out WCW with my finger. The connection with British Bulldog Bob. I looked at this before. I believe that he was part of the family, but he was also part of the big stable of trainers. A lot of trainees, I guess, of the family. A lot of Canadian-born wrestlers went to go train with them. I think Edge and a few others who were surprisingly Canadian went and trained with the Hart family.
Oh yes! Wow, you get the Edge there and. Man, what was the Brood? I think that was their big.
The Brood.
Their big,
okay.
Yeah, their tag team that they had.
They should have
Christian and Edge.
The Rude Brood.
Well, it was something to do. I forget the main guy, but it was some like vampiric thing. Like he'd come out and drink blood from a chalice.
Okay.
His Edge and Christian first came, and they were like creepy. They weren't like as fan friendly as they became later on. But
okay, all right.
Anyway, letting you know, just a little deep backstory. But we'll get into wrestling in a little bit here.
Oh, okay, all right. So what else is happening in the world, Bob, in the world of sports this week?
Well, I figured let's go toe to toe with everybody, every other sports talk thing out there, and let's talk about the NFL. How about?
All right. Cue the sound of pads clicking.
Exactly. There's a lot of information, a lot of things going on with the NFL. Of course, they have to be in the headlines in some way, shape, or form. So Jerry Jones has made some comments. So we have the owners' meetings going on. But I think one of the most interesting things that has happened is RG3 has signed with the Cleveland Browns to make him the 26th quarterback that they've had since 1999. So your thoughts, Corey, on RG3 in Cleveland?
My thoughts on RG3 in Cleveland are... in brackets, insert Tim Couch joke here. That's my.
I actually have Tim Couch in brackets on my little page here.
In brackets on your notes. Awesome. Just another in a long succession of quarterbacks to go to Cleveland. And gosh, you just want them to do well. You know, and as a Bears fan, I can sympathize with them a little bit of having a merry-go-round of mid-level quarterbacks or late career failing quarterbacks coming to this team.
Man, I wonder what the Cleveland Browns though would give up for Jay Cutler.
Well, no, I know, and see that's why I can't really complain anymore because there has been some stability, even though it's been JJ, but it's been stability. They're not pulling out surfers off the beach to come play professional football with them, or signing Josh McCown, who's a fine quarterback, but like, hey, Josh McCown, you've been riding benches for the last 8 years. Let's bring you on as the starter.
Well, and I was looking it up just to see how many different quarterbacks they've had, and they've had a fairly impressive list of quarterbacks throughout the time that they've come back since 1999 when they were reinstated. And I was wondering if you could name. There's only been one quarterback that has played the entire season for the Cleveland Browns since they've come back in 1999.
Ooh.
And it happened. I'm not going to tell you a year because that might give it away. But can you guess the one quarterback who's played an entire season for the Cleveland Browns?
Brandon Weeden is my guess.
The answer, surprisingly, is actually Tim Couch.
It's Tim Couch.
In 2001, he played every game for the Cleveland Browns.
My man.
The only one.
My man. One. Now, did Eric Crouch also play quarterback for the Cleveland Browns?
I'd have to look that up, but I don't believe so.
Okay, so
I saw that. I forgot Jake Delhomme played there for a little bit.
Did he? And
for
then
4 games.
Yeah, and then Brandon Weeden didn't finish the season there, huh?
Nope, but he did play for him. And then, they had Brian Hoyer and Derek Anderson, Seneca Wallace for a little bit.
Ooh, yeah. Our local Iowa native, Seneca Wallace.
Yeah, absolutely.
And former subject of that MTV college quarterback reality show. Do you remember that they had? They followed around.
I do not.
College quarterbacks. It was when Seneca was playing for Iowa State. And they were like, this is the life of a star college athlete. Here's what my dorm
Ames,
room
Iowa.
like. In Ames, Iowa. Yeah, it's like, here's my crib. This is like my student housing.
Right. That's funny. But it's interesting though. It's an anomaly for sure that they've gone so many years and they couldn't find quarterback in the draft or free agency or trade that can at least play more than 2 seasons without getting hurt or falling off the cliff. So it'll be interesting to see that Cleveland gets really big into sports and a tortured sports city for sure. Maybe LeBron can play quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Maybe that's the answer that they need. But
I think he could do it.
No, I think he could do it. Yeah, probably better than some of the guys that they had under center. But RG3 in Cleveland, I I wish the best for him, but I think he's going to follow along the same lines as every other quarterback they've had there. He's going to get injured in some way, shape, or
drinking
form.
problem and domestic violence allegations in the offseason? Is that what are you getting at, Bob?
I'm not going at that. No, I'm going strictly on the field stuff. Strictly
on the field stuff. Okay.
I don't know if there's any correlation between domestic violence and being a Cleveland Brown
playing
quarterback.
for the Browns. That might be something that scientists need to look into. Drug abuse and domestic violence problems. Not to make light.
Yeah, we know the NFL's on top of all that stuff. So
I should say not to make light of domestic. Drug abuse is hilarious, but domestic violence not so.
Of course,
it's not so.
Of course,
such a funny subject, but
exactly.
Yeah. But do you think does RG3? What does RG3 need to succeed? If you had to have RG3 as a quarterback and you were a general manager who could build an offense, knowing that you had to have him locked in, what does he need?
Well, that's the tough part. That's why it's a tough situation for him, is that I think he needs to go deep in the playoffs. I mean, not that he needs to win a Super Bowl to be validated as a good quarterback, but he needs to at least lead a team to the playoffs and stay healthy.
I don't mean that, Bob. Let me rephrase. What kind of personnel does he need around him to succeed?
What kind of personnel?
To be able to make it deep into the playoffs?
Yeah, well, they get Josh Gordon back, which will be another threat. But, I mean, it seems like they constantly lack all the fundamental things that you need for a good offensive team, like a running back or a star wide receiver. Or, like, when they have a star wide receiver, they lack a quarterback and a running game, so they lock down on the wide receiver. You know, they had, I forget the tight end that they had last year, but he was pretty good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget his name. But, I mean, they just always seem to lack multiple elements that make up a good team. They seem so far away all the time. So it's not even like you can rebuild through the draft and free agency and everything. Because I look at a team like Jacksonville. Like Jacksonville this year, I think will be a sneaky team because they've built well in the draft. They've gotten some good players and they've signed some big free agents over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And they've stuck with their system to the point where they could have a piece, or they could be like a piece or two away from a legitimate good team. The Browns, on the other hand, I mean, not only can they not find a quarterback or a coach or a running game, it's like there's so many different elements. So that just signing RG3 may look good on paper for a little bit, but I don't think one man does not make a castle.
Yeah, well, certainly I think that should become an idiom in the English language. One man does not make a castle.
I think so.
I like that, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that Cleveland is still going to need to get a quarterback out of this draft? Do you think that they're going to take out an insurance policy on RG3? So even with a blockbuster signing like this, their problems, even at quarterback, their problems aren't solved.
Well, even look at like what the Denver Broncos are doing, and they traded for Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez is not going to be the starter, but they're still trying to trade for Colin Kaepernick, and then they're probably also going to draft somebody. So they're probably going to bring in many options and see who succeeds and stuff. So with RG3, kind of a similar situation. You probably need to sign somebody, bring them in to compete against RG3, and then you probably need to draft somebody to see what they can do. So there are quarterbacks available in the draft and some prospects and stuff, but it's a good signing for them right now to keep that fan base enthused and especially to kind of move on from Johnny Manziel. But I don't see it ending well. I wish the best for him, but I don't see it ending well. So.
Yep. What was the reason, would you say, for the sudden decline of RG3 in the NFL? Is it just defenses figuring out how to handle RG3 after a surging rookie year for Washington?
I think it was injuries. I think you get injured, and then if you rely so much on your athleticism, and you have to work back from that, and then you just don't have the same confidence, I believe. And so if you have to change your game even slightly, it can mess with your head. And then I don't think he had the full support of his team, the organization as a whole, which it does. I think it helps a lot. I mean, look at like Peyton Manning in those bad Indianapolis years when he was putting up stellar numbers and stuff. But what they always have, they always had protection, or they always tried to get protection around Peyton Manning, and he always knew he was the guy. And it just allowed for them to kind of build from the inside out. And it seemed like the Redskins and stuff were trying to put everything on RG3 and just having him try to carry the load.
All right. And then
which I think they're trying to do in Cleveland as well, which is probably not going to end. It's probably going to end the same way. So.
Okay. All right. And so do you think the pressure of them putting a good old boy, old-fashioned pocket passer behind him in the depth chart and it's like, just wait till you screw up one more time, and we're going to put in Kirk Cousins. You think that's going to happen in Cleveland also?
Well, I don't think they have a Kirk Cousins to put in.
Well,
So
no,
obviously
they would love to have a Kirk Cousins to put in. Probably that would probably be
that
their
was a
first
deft
choice.
move though by Mike Shanahan in Washington that year when they did draft RG3 and then later on drafted Kirk Cousins. So handcuff yourself well, because I mean they traded a lot to get him. So and I was watching some show where they were talking about Jay Cutler and they brought up the Mike Shanahan trade, and I forgot that he actually traded up to get Jay Cutler as well. So Mike Shanahan not afraid to trade up to get a quarterback. So
yep. Well, and so far, Jay Cutler's historically panned out better than RG3, but you never know, Bob. Cleveland might
they have
make
the same
that,
amount of rings, don't
that
they?
Deep playoff run, the same amount of rings. That hurts. That hurts me.
I know.
Bob. That hurts me.
I know. Don't worry. They have the same amount of rings as the Vikings do as a whole. So.
Oh man.
So it hurts me too.
Okay. As long as we're wounding ourselves with a double-edged sword. So
none of us are Cowboy fans here. So.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm a future Colorado resident, so I should also be hurt as a Broncos fan watching JJ frown on the Denver sideline also.
Well, that's kind of a nice little connection that you have then. You can be a Bears fan in Chicago, and it's still very much John Fox's team, or elements of his team still there. So.
Yep, but I missed living there when they were winning the Super Bowl, and it doesn't look like they're going to be back anytime soon. So.
Look at that defense. So it depends on how that quarterback situation plays out. So.
All right. Well, maybe next year we can pull this clip from the podcast archive and we can
exactly
play it when we have really nice like sound filters. We can have it sound like I'm talking like from beyond the grave.
We'll save it for our Halloween episode.
Ooh, yeah,
It'll be
I like it.
Good enough into the NFL season, we'll know where teams stand at least.
Yeah, we just put a cheap filter on everything. Yeah, just put a really, really cheap, free Audacity filter. Like, look at this, the ghost filter.
Mm-hmm. We don't even need to get it. We have it already.
Yeah, so speaking of ghosts, Bob, I heard that the dead man has celebrated a birthday this week.
Yeah, we'll go back to wrestling here for a little bit. But yeah, the Undertaker celebrated his 51st birthday on the 24th. I believe it was Thursday. So,
and I was shocked, Bob. I was shocked.
You were shocked that he was 51?
51? I know. I'm sure he.
Tell me wrestling's not real.
I'm sure he's an excellent athlete, but my gosh, that must be hard on the body. Either that or he's maybe been not good to himself with substances. I don't know his story, but he does not look like a 51-year-old athlete. He looks like a 70-year-old athlete.
Yeah, well, I think that's more or less the wear and tear of being a professional wrestler.
Okay, so just
more so than anything
else. Life on the road and all those
Yeah.
tombstone pile drivers just taking a toll over the years.
Absolutely, and he's a big guy too, so that's a long way to fall at that time. So
throwing mankind down through the cage.
Yeah, exactly. I actually was doing some little backstory on Undertaker, because I never knew him before the Undertaker, so I never knew that he wrestled at the WCW. He was under the name Mean Mark. His name is, I believe, Mark Calloway is his real name.
Is he from Florida? He seems like...
No, he's from Texas.
Oh, he's from Texas.
He's from
okay.
Houston, Texas. So,
all right.
But when he came over to the WWF initially, he was actually known as Kane the Undertaker. Ooh. So I thought that was kind of interesting, because later on they brought in Kane as his brother. So storylines that kind of started off a little bit, but he only wrestled under Kane the Undertaker for a short while until the Undertaker just stuck. But watching those first few matches and everything, they kind of built him up as he was impervious to pain. So it was basically that he wasn't selling other people's hits and moves and stuff. So it was a great backstory, and he's truly one of the great characters in professional wrestling, still, even to this day.
And R.I.P. Paul Bearer, longtime friend and man. Was he billed as a manager of the Undertaker?
Yeah, exactly. Longtime friend of the show, actually. So.
Oh, okay. This is Paul Bearer. Yeah, but no, in real life, Paul Bearer is no longer with us. That's true, Bob?
Yes, okay. I believe so.
Yes,
I believe he died a number of years ago, so he's been gone for a little bit.
Okay.
But again, great. What a great pairing of those two. Like,
the Undertaker and Paul Bearer. That's a very you could tell just by the name of it that name came out of the late 80s, early 90s, and we still have to use it today. You feel like if that emerged in the Attitude Era or today, they would not have gone for a cheesy pun like that.
Well, Who knows? Actually, I
No,
mean,
I suppose.
I think it was more creative than cheesy. So, especially because how they sold it, they sold it pretty well.
Yeah.
That Undertaker, the like '94 ish Undertaker, when like the lights would go down in the arena, and then like the fire and stuff would come up. It was awesome. Give you chills.
Hey, on our YouTube channel, you can catch a wrestling event that we called Run on the Super NES WrestleMania game featuring The Undertaker. He pins, I want to say, is it Sid Justice that he pins?
I believe so.
I think he pins Sid Justice, and you get a very 16-bit version of the bell ringing. So it's just like...
So you can watch the WrestleMania version of Undertaker.
Yeah, so you can watch that called by both myself and Bob. Also, this week on our YouTube channel, we have Negro Leagues action continuing. It is the Chicago American Giants and the Cincinnati Indianapolis Clowns is our Negro League sim this week. We have 5 games total in the series planned for that. We may expand that as the season goes on, but you can catch that there on YouTube channel. And there's lots of stuff going up there every week. We have highlights from our sim games. We have our podcast episodes going up there, so do check those out. We're still 10% of the way to 100 subscribers, so do crush that subscribe button and hit those thumbs up buttons. It helps more people find our videos, and hopefully more people can enjoy them. Let us know what you think so we can bring you what you want to see and hear, right, Bob?
Absolutely. Well, the more the merrier. So
where else can they find us, Bob?
I believe we're on Stitcher, iTunes. Our podcast is on Podomatic as well. Of course, we patrol Twitter quite frequently, and we're on Facebook. I know I'm always forgetting something, but
we're just on
if
lots
I
of
am,
places.
just Google Sticky Bleachers.
There you
right?
go. An emphasis on the trolling Twitter, right, Bob? Not patrolling Twitter. How about some speedrun updates, some updates from the world of competitive fast video game playing, Bob, from this week? What do you think?
I'm ready. You want me to time you?
No, I don't think I'm going to go too fast on this one. We have a few world records this week, a few notable ones. There's lots of them. These come from the subreddit r speedrun, so if you want to see a full list, go check those out. These are some highlights I pulled out. Recently, we have The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, a game which I know Bob's familiar with, the 100% category in 4 hours, 18 minutes, 29 seconds by ZFG. We have Ninja Gaiden, the classic NES platformer game, in 11 minutes, 47.57 seconds by Arcus87. That's a very impressive run. It's a very hard game to play. We have Mario Party 3, Story Mode, Super Hard Difficulty, in 5 hours, 21 minutes, 9 seconds by Silo Simon. We have Grand Theft Auto 4, Any Percent, in 4 hours, 1 minute, 58 seconds by Kyle Does It. And finally, Bob, we have Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup in 35 minutes, 38 seconds, .93 by Lazar181. So that is our speed run wrap-up of the week.
That's impressive. I'm not familiar with the Harry Potter game, but 35 minutes, that's impressive.
There you go. So imagine it's a sports game. It's a very weird-looking 3D Xbox, original Xbox era sports game. Imagine that.
I never thought you could beat Grand Theft Auto. I always thought it was just one of those games where you just constantly play in the world that they created. But,
well, Bob, if you have 4 hours, 1 minute, and 58 seconds, you can watch how it's beaten. But if I
doesn't have that kind of time?
If I was going to devote 4 hours, I would watch the Ocarina of Time run. Although I have seen ZFG play that route before. I have not seen his current world record video, but that's an impressive game to watch also, the Ocarina of Time one. Of course, a classic. Long-time classic.
Long-time classic, yes. And was that on, what platform was that on?
I believe that he streams it on Twitch. All of these are usually on their Twitch archives, but sometimes the links on the subreddit, they link directly to a video, either on Twitch archive or they export them to YouTube. So,
well, I mean, what platform was he playing it on?
Oh, ZFG plays on the N64, although he might, on this version, have played on the Chinese system of an N64 that they put out a few years after the Nintendo 64 because it runs slightly faster than the English one, and I'm blanking on the name. It was actually a different system. The name of the system is different. It wasn't the Nintendo 64.
But it played N64 games?
And they released a limited library for it, but it came out in like the early 2000s in China for the Chinese market.
Really?
Yeah, and it's kind of an obscure system, but it plays, so they're legit records because they're the same games, but it just plays on a different hardware and a different version. So you play it with Chinese text and it makes it go just a tiny bit faster. But I can't confirm that that's what this particular record is. But a lot of Zelda speedrunners do play on that version, and I will sound very silly now that I can't remember the name of that special 64 system. But yeah, generally speedruns are played on the original hardware, and they will often make a note, or they'll make a new category if they're playing it on a re-release, like if he was playing on the like the Wii Virtual Console version. There would usually be a note in that, so it'd be like Zelda Ocarina of Time Virtual Console version.
Gotcha. But there's no, it's not like steroids or anything like that. It's perfectly fine to play on different platforms. You just have to make a little note.
Perfectly fine. That's right. Yep. So
it's not
that's
illegal.
It's no, it's so good. Well, there is, yeah. I don't know if there's any doping allegations or anything yet in the speedrun community. I'm not sure if they drug test speedrunners. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many would pass if you gave them drug tests for recreational drugs.
That's
but
true.
Anyway, not to throw any speedrunners under the bus because
I would love to
hobby.
see a video gamer take some HGH just to see.
They do. A lot of them do suffer injuries and damage, long-term damage to their hands and wrists from all of that Twitch gameplay. So if you're going to get into speedrunning out there, take care of yourselves.
Are concussions pretty big in video gaming?
Thankfully, head injuries, no. It's mostly hand injuries.
Very good.
And I suppose probably the same risks of any sedentary lifestyle. Hypertension, diabetes, obesity probably would be long-term side effects of lots of Mountain Dew Code Red and lots of video games.
Yep.
So,
Taco Bell.
Yeah, so take
Doritos Locos.
Take good care of yourselves out there, speedrunners and non-speedrunners alike. Just be good to yourselves, be good to each other. I think that's going to wrap it up for us for this week. What do you think, Bob?
I think that's a good note to end on.
All right, so yeah, we can find us, all of the places we mentioned before, Sticky Bleachers, all over the internet. Find us there. We'll talk to you on Monday. I'll be Corey for now, signing off for this week.
I'm Bob. We'll see you guys later.
Play ball!
Sticky.